life being furious at the government. I'm sure some of your lordships will recognise that. But I do want to spare a moment of sympathy for the noble Lord Minister who's had to bring this to your lordship's house, because clearly this is going back on a promise. The government is cheating. The government is choosing not to honour a promise. Now that's really rather disgusting, I think, because it shows a complete lack of respect for your lordship's house. And I really hope that the noble Lord Paddock, who has just made a brilliant opening speech, will take this to a vote, because clearly we would have voted on these issues before if we'd had the chance, but we trusted the government, and it just shows we cannot trust the government. And that is very depressing, because clearly if you can't trust your government, then the whole of democracy falls apart. I'm also worried about the fact that the government is putting police at a disadvantage. We're in a period when trust in the police is at an all-time low, and I think these measures will actually make it much, much worse. We worry all the time about the police being distrusted. They can't do their job if they don't have the support of communities. And, of course, with this sort of measure, there will be social and racial barriers to actually implementing it. There will be disparities about who the police target, and really the government is actually making life much, much harder for the police. There should not be a power to search without reasonable suspicion. And while I'm talking about not trusting the government, the government is also treating peaceful protest like gang and knife crime. And I just don't understand why the government can't see the difference between that. Dissent is healthy. It is actually part of our democracy. And it seems to me, in measure after measure and in legislation after legislation, this government is actually saying, we don't like society the way it is. We are going to radically change it and make it much, much worse for the majority of people here. There is also, on the issue of knife crime, a point made by my Green Party colleague, Caroline Russell, who is a member of the London Assembly, and she's repeatedly asked the police to stop posting pictures of knives on social media. And this actually makes things worse, because the evidence says that young people feel more at risk, and it actually encourages them to carry knives. So there are other measures that the police can use to reduce knife crime. We actually have to show young people that they are safer not to carry a knife. So all in all, I would say, I would ask two questions of the Minister. I would say, does this government have absolutely no respect for this House and for democracy? And my second, much more smaller point is that why on earth is the government doing this before the pilots are finished? Surely the pilot should show us the way forward. And here the government seems to be very confused about what pilots are for. Why promise a pilot and then go ahead and introduce these measures anyway? I am disgusted of Lambeth.
My Lords, since the Nobel